Is Israel now coming into the line of fire from within NATO itself, as a key ally of Donald Trump appears to turn its focus toward Benjamin Netanyahu? Turkey is signaling heightened readiness, even as Israel expands its list of potential targets across the Middle East. Has Netanyahu now opened another front he may struggle to manage, as Ankara issues a strong and increasingly direct challenge? And after sharp rhetoric drawing historical comparisons, is Turkey now escalating its political offensive against Netanyahu even further? Tensions between NATO member Turkey and Israel have escalated significantly amid the broader regional conflict involving Iran. In a recent statement, Turkey's foreign minister characterized Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's approach as aggressive and destabilizing. Speaking to Anadolu Agency on April 13, Hakan Fidan stated that Israel's current posture increasingly positions Turkey as a potential focus of concern. Fidan further argued that Israel's strategic outlook relies on identifying adversaries and may shift its attention toward Turkey after Iran. He added that Israel appears to be developing a narrative aimed at portraying Turkey as its next perceived threat. The Turkish foreign minister said, and I quote, "After Iran, Israel cannot live without an enemy. We see that they are in search of developing a new rhetoric and declaring Turkey as the new enemy. We see that not only Netanyahu's administration, but also some figures in the opposition, though not all, are seeking to declare Turkey the new enemy. This is a new development in Israel, turning into a state strategy." End quote. Turkey acknowledged ongoing diplomatic engagement between the United States and Iran, while expressing concern about potential disruptions. Fidan accused Israel of engaging in actions that could undermine progress in negotiations and warned that Ankara has conveyed these concerns to Washington. The Turkish foreign minister said, and I quote, "Initial positions are always somewhat maximalist. Later, the parties try to find common ground with the support of mediators. As long as they have the intention to reach, maintain, and permanently achieve a ceasefire. What I see is that both sides are sincere about the ceasefire and aware of its need. We must always keep in mind Israel's disruptive behavior here. We constantly tell this to the Americans and other parties. But as of now, both the Americans and the Iranians have gone home. I think the Iranians, especially, will evaluate the offer made by the Americans. They will give a response." End quote. Turkey also extended its criticism to regional partners, including Greece and Cyprus, over their defense cooperation with Israel. Fidan questioned the rationale behind Greece expanding military ties with Israel despite its existing NATO membership. The Turkish foreign minister said, and I quote, "We see that Greece is pursuing highly risky policies here. There are very interesting aspects in Greece attempting to follow a type of policy that no other country in Europe is pursuing on its own. Neither Greece nor southern Cyprus needs military cooperation with Israel. Greece is already a member of NATO, and southern Cyprus has the backing of the EU. What strategic logic could justify seeking this kind of cooperation is something they cannot explain to me either. This is most likely an imposition on the government made under external pressure." End quote. Turkey also emphasized that a longer ceasefire is needed for any concrete solutions. Fidan claimed Turkey has hinted that US and Iran should agree to an additional ceasefire. Ankara also made it clear Strait of Hormuz must reopen, but only through peaceful ways. The Turkish foreign minister said, and I quote, "Looking at the topics being negotiated, it might not have been technically possible to finalize them in a document to be signed within 15 days. If the nuclear issue becomes an all-or-nothing situation, especially regarding enrichment, I think we may encounter a serious obstacle. We will try to overcome this with the support of some mediators and other countries. Our position is that it should be opened through peaceful means. There are many difficulties in intervening here with an international armed peacekeeping force." End quote. The Turkish Foreign Ministry issued a statement on April 11 in response to remarks made by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Turkey's reaction came after Netanyahu said Erdogan had massacred his own Kurdish citizens, a charge that immediately triggered a fierce and unusually personal response from the Turkish side. The Israeli Prime Minister made those remarks on X while also vowing to continue fighting the Iranian regime despite the ceasefire. In its response, the Turkish government invoked Netanyahu's alleged war crimes and went so far as to describe him as the Hitler of our time. Turkish Foreign Ministry statement said, and I quote, "Netanyahu, who has been described as the Hitler of our time due to the crimes he has committed, is a well-known figure with a clear track record. An arrest warrant has been issued against Netanyahu by the International Criminal Court on charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity. Under Netanyahu's administration, Israel is facing proceedings before the International Court of Justice on charges of genocide. Netanyahu's current objective is to undermine ongoing peace negotiations and continue his expansionist policies in the region. Failing this, he risks being tried in his own country and is likely to be sentenced to imprisonment. The fact that our president has been targeted by Israeli officials with baseless, brazen, and false allegations is a result of the discomfort caused by the truths we have consistently voiced on every platform. Turkey will continue to stand by innocent civilians and will further its efforts to ensure that Netanyahu is held accountable for the crimes he has committed." Unquote. Earlier, former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett had warned that Turkey posed a new and growing threat, suggesting that concerns in Israel are now expanding beyond Iran alone. Bennett made those remarks while addressing the 2026 Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations, using the forum to outline what he sees as Israel's evolving regional dangers. According to I24 News, Bennett described Erdogan as a sophisticated and dangerous adversary, portraying the Turkish president as a strategic challenge that Israel can no longer afford to ignore. Naftali Bennett said, and I quote, "Erdogan is a sophisticated and dangerous adversary who wants to surround Israel. The country must not turn a blind eye again. While certain Israeli officials are on Qatari payroll, Qatar and Turkey, which is based in Syria, and with Israeli consent in Gaza, are feeding a new monstrous axis of the Muslim Brotherhood similar to the Iranian one. A new Turkish threat is emerging. We must act in different ways, but simultaneously against the threat from Tehran and against the hostility from Ankara. I must tell the truth. Israel's current leadership divided us and is dividing us now more than ever. I will not let the leadership that failed continue. I intend to lead Israel into its next chapter, stronger. After 3 decades since coming to power, and after the greatest disaster in Israel's history occurred on his watch, a leader must know when to step down with dignity. Israel is greater than any one person. The next chapter must be written by a new leadership, without those people responsible for the disaster." Unquote. Israel now appears to be projecting Turkey as a new existential threat even as the Iran ceasefire remains in place.